Welcome everybody back to the Friar Talk podcast and YouTube channel. For today's video, we're going to be talking about the bullpen, and we are not going to be talking about Taylor Rogers. We're going to be talking about the setup spots. Now, typically it's referred to as the 8th inning role, but we're also going to bring in the 7th inning role in this one just because you usually see guys rotate in and out of that. So for today, we're going to be talking about who should the Padres setup men be. A couple days ago, Pierce Johnson came out in the 8th inning, blew the game. First game of the year. Suarez comes in to pitch the 9th because Taylor Rogers isn't ready, blows that game. So I think those were two of the names that we've mentioned in the past. But Chase, who are the guys that you want to bring up that you feel like should be in this setup man role?
Well, obviously, I'm still going to say Pierce Johnson. I like Pierce Johnson. If you look at his overall numbers the last couple years, he's very consistently in the low threes. He doesn't usually give up runs. That last outing is sort of an anomaly. He normally doesn't do that. His curveball's wicked. His location with his fastball is good. He gets swings and misses with his fastballs. I always say that. I always advocate for him to be in any role where there's a high leverage situation, whether that be the setup man or guys are on base and you need a strikeout. He is great for that. Kind of like where Luis Garcia is. We saw him. He looked pretty good. I want to see more of him in some less stressful innings real quick before I really make a decision on this, because we've only really saw one game, but he did look good. I will be okay with it like later on in the season, but right now, especially since he's still working back from the injury that he had, want to see him in some lower level innings and just kind of build up from there. And if he does well and does succeed in those innings, yeah, I'm all for putting him in the setup man role. Robert Suarez. I know a lot of people still have a sour taste in their mouth from opening day because honestly, that was really hard to watch in person. I could have been worse on TV because I was like, this guy's wild, whatever. But on TV, you could probably see how far he was missing. Couldn't see that part. And even though he has looked a lot better, he's still throwing a little too many balls for me to be comfortable with, because I feel like he'll go 0-2 on a guy, but then it goes full count and you don't know which way the next pitch is going to go. It feels like that every time, and it's very nerve-wracking. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you'll agree with this, Brad Hand a few years ago when he was on the Padres. Brad Hand was a dominant guy, but he scared the hell out of me every time he pitched. Because the single reason Brad Hand would walk like 2 or 3 guys, it would be like bases loaded, and then he'll strike out the next 3. It always something with Brad Hand. There was always like 2 guys on base with the potential, either a guy at the plate or be like a run game. Their best hitter's up. There's 2 guys on base because he walked the previous 2, and then he strikes out the heart of the lineup. It terrifies me when a closer does that, and Robert Suarez is reminding me a little bit of Brad Hand right now. I know he's not going to be like that. I know if you look at his Japan numbers, he only walked, I think it was like 6 to 8 people. I know what we're going to get later down the line. I want to see him in less stressful innings, but I want to see him in either the setup man or closer position. I know Tyler Rogers is there and he's looked amazing. But in this situation where it calls, maybe having a right-handed closer is not the worst thing you can do. Then probably the last guy, we haven't seen a lot of him. I'm kind of worried about that part. He's only pitched 3 innings, and one of them, he came out because the Austin Adams injury. He didn't get a lot of time to warm up. His velocity was a little down, and he was somewhat wild, was Dinelson Lamet. I have been the biggest Dinelson Lamet believer for like past 5-6 years. Whenever he made his debut, I was like, this guy is going to be good, and the Padres need him in his future. Unfortunately, he's no longer the starter, but he has a high 90s fastball. His slider is nearly untouchable. It's nearly unhittable. It's one of the best pitches in the MLB. He gets like 55% swing whiff rate on it. It's insane. It has like less than 100 average against it. It's everything you want in a setup man and closer. He just has a lot of adjustments to do to become a reliever, because it's a very different role from stretch warming up to going, 6-7 innings to, okay, I can give it my all in 1 inning. And I don't know what's happening with his elbow or his forearm, where it is. We just haven't seen him a lot. and it's worrying me a little bit because you want to get him those lower level, or not lower level, but those less threatening innings, less high leverage innings to start off before you move him to be, that setup man closer that Bob Melvin has praised him to be. Said, Donaldson Lamet as a closer, he would be one of the top guys. He's got an unhittable slider. His stuff plays at an elite level. I have to talk to him about it, see where he's at. But you're looking at this guy, and he could be an all-star closer. But he's only thrown 3 innings so far this season out of 3 series. It's not very encouraging. I don't know what's happening with him, but I definitely want to see him in the setup man role. I'm okay with any of the 4 guys that I mentioned earlier, but the 2 that I probably want most is Suarez and Lamet.
Yeah, and I think when you're looking at who's the best top end, or who has the best chance to be a top end relief option, I think those are the 2 guys that come to mind the most. I think Pierce Johnson is more of the safe route, just because we've seen who he is over the last couple of years. He's going to have around a 3 ERA. He's gonna be really solid. I do think that Pierce scares me a little bit because you brought this up with Suarez, but he gets a lot of people left on base as well. So I think that's the big question mark there. I think we look around and we go, okay, who's been performing the best early on? I think we got to bring up Steven Wilson. Steven Wilson was amazing in his last outing against the Giants. He struck out 5 of the last 6 batters, looked really, really good. And then he came back and had another outing against the Braves that was solid as well. So he's been a guy that has been, he's a 27-year-old rookie, but he's been awesome. I don't know. I think that outside of them, I would love to see if Dinelson Lamet could be that guy. It's just like you said, it's so hard to tell with the elbow, with the adjustments to go into the bullpen, where I wouldn't want them to put him in that role yet. Now, do I think that he can become that guy? We've talked about him being a closer. So, yes, of course, I think he could become a high-leverage reliever. Robert Suarez, I wouldn't say he's in the same boat as Dinelson Lamet, but I think that you're going to have to see him make a little bit of adjustments before you really trust him in the 8th. So right now, I would say that I'd probably want Pierce Johnson right now in the 8th inning. And I know that last time he didn't look good in the 8th. I think another guy to bring up, Luis Garcia. He was amazing last year. He was really, really good. He's coming back from injury as well. Yeah, similar things said with all these guys. Oh, this guy's coming back from injury. Oh, this guy's coming back from injury. But Luis Garcia, I think that if he can replicate his numbers from 2021, he could be fantastic. So I definitely like a lot of the options they have. It's also worth noting Austin Adams. He got a PRP injection. If you guys don't know what that is, it's basically what they give to pitchers when they probably should be getting Tommy John, but they want them to recover. So I believe he's out for 6 weeks. But the problem with that is that people get the injection, then nothing happens, and then they end up just kind of delaying the inevitable that is Tommy John. So he's probably not going to be a really serious person on this team. Down the road, Adrian Morejon, he'll be back. Hopefully Drew Pomeranz is back. He will absolutely be a guy for that role. That no questions asked, he definitely will. But that's if he's healthy. I think another person would be Luis Castillo. So I don't know. Who else? What?
Jose, you keep saying Luis.
Oh my God. I did this last time. I remember this.
Yeah.
Yes. Jose Castillo. He's a guy that he's been out with injury for quite some time now. But he did kind of finally start making some progress this offseason. So hopefully that's the case with Jose Castillo. I can't believe, Chase, I did it like 3 months ago. But yeah, so I don't know. I think those are the big guys, but thoughts on Luis Garcia, maybe someone else, or are those the main guys you're going to rock with?
I do like Steven Wilson. I completely forgot about him until you mentioned him. I do want to see him, continue to make adjustments at the MLB level, give him some, 6-7 inning guys, maybe, towards the earlier part of the game, 6th, 7th inning, where it's the heart of the lineup. I want to see him go against the top end guys. If he can do that and succeed, you can give him the latter half of the innings, 7, 8, 9. I want to see where he's at. I want to see him in some high leverage situations, because that's the only real way you can gauge a reliever is if he's ready to close, you need to put him in stressful situations and see if he sinks or floats. I mean, we've seen that with Tim Hill. Tim Hill gets thrown in like the worst situations of the game, and he just walks out unscathed. It's a miracle that he's a miracle worker, that guy. But definitely looking forward to Jose Castillo coming back. We definitely need another impact lefty. We really only have Rogers, and I think that's it right now, isn't it? Yeah, we have one lefty reliever, and Tim Hill, but we have two lefty relievers. So when Pomeranz comes back, I don't expect him to be the setup guy. The way that they kind of used him last year was whenever they needed their best reliever, he's going out there and he's going to be that guy. He's just going to be the guy that gets put into the most stressful situation because he has the most experience both as a starter and a reliever in that area. So he's probably going to be one of those guys. And Adrian Morejon, I expect him to kind of be a middle relief pitcher, just sort of a guy that can go 2, maybe 3 innings if you need him. Kind of just continue to work his way back from injury, just stuff down the line. He might come in during a couple blowouts, or if we're getting blown out, just throw a few innings just to work his way back. But he has electric stuff. He has a 3-pitch mix. He could be an amazing closer down the line. He could be an amazing reliever. He can be basically whatever, just not a starter. We've seen what happens with them after about 60, 70 innings. Keep him as a reliever. So, in the future, I think Morejon and Castillo, those two are going to be a nasty duo in the back of the bullpen. But this year, it's definitely going to be probably Suarez as the setup man if he gets his stuff together.
Yeah, and let's say that none of these guys pan out, which I don't believe is going to be the case. I think we're going to see a few of them look really good throughout the duration of the season. But one other guy to mention, Kevin Kopps. I mean, he was stellar last year in the minor leagues. Currently, he's in Double-A. He's pitched 3 innings so far. He's recorded a save, hasn't allowed a run. Looked really good in spring. And, of course, he was an amazing pitcher in college. So he's another guy that could fit into that role. But we'll see if they end up going that route. But I think that he's, one guy you would like to bring up. But I think that's going to do it for today's video. Tomorrow, we're going to be going live to do not a post game, but a series recap of this Padres Red series. Hopefully it's a series win. Hopefully it's a sweep. We're recording this on Monday before the game started, but we're going to be going live at 6 o'clock on Wednesday. So make sure to join. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's episode. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you very soon.